Motivating Africa is a project that is geared towards inspiring 1 million Africans. To suggest that Africa is a continent that is rich with potential and with opportunity is simply stating the obvious. Our challenge is not one of a lack of resources. Our challenge is not one of poverty. Our challenge fundamentally is a challenge of poverty of the mind. How do we inspire our people to believe more in their God-given potential? How do we motivate people so that they can believe more in themselves and see that it is within their power to achieve to heights even beyond their own imagination? How do we get our people to think creatively and to use their imagination so that they can open up their minds and unleash their potential? That is the objective of Motivating Africa, and we won't stop until we have been able to galvanize our people and energize them so that they can believe more in themselves and take action, so they can unchain themselves from the shackles that have long kept us down and held us down. That is our mission for Motivating Africa, and we won't stop until we get our people moving.
Good afternoon. So I'm very excited about this. This officially is my very first webinar, and I'm excited that it's with Motivating Africa, a project that I'm personally very passionate about. Their mission of impacting 1 million people in Africa is also my personal mission. And so I'm going to spend the next hour with you, and I'm going to talk about entrepreneurship being the key to Africa's total economic emancipation. And I hope you're going to join me. My name is Ekow Mensah, and you would see even from the name of my organization that I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship. Personally, I believe that entrepreneurship is actually the key to everything. And I'm certain that if you're able to understand and apply the principles of entrepreneurship to every aspect of our lives, we are going to succeed, and we are going to turn our fortunes around and the fortunes of our dear continent as well. So I see that you're joining, and then I'm excited to have you on the platform. So let's start. So in the next 1 hour, we're going to look at entrepreneurship from my perspective. You know, entrepreneurship for me is a way of life, and it's different from all the technical jargons that you might read online and the things that you might hear in seminars and workshops. I'm going to break it down to the barest understanding of everybody that would tune in and everybody that probably will listen even after this webinar. So we're going to talk about two different things here. The first one being entrepreneurship, and then the second one being economic emancipation. And we're going to look at the two and how it positively affects Africa and how we can use entrepreneurship as a key to turning the fortunes of Africa around, to making it the first world continent that we all desire Africa to be. I will start with a quote by one of my favorite people, one of my favorite African entrepreneurs, and I'm sure a lot of you know him by now through his entrepreneurship initiative across Africa. His name is Tony Elumelu, and he's the chairman and founder of Hess Holdings, as well as UBA and the Tony Elumelu Foundation. He says entrepreneurship is the cornerstone to African development. and the key to local value creation in Africa. And he, Tony, just as I am, are both determined to ensure that Africa's next generation of entrepreneurs have a platform they need to turn their entrepreneurial ambitions into sustainable businesses, economic growth, and job creation across Africa. Now, we're going to look at Tony's quote for a while, and we're going to break it down to the various aspects that would concern today's presentation. The first thing he says is entrepreneurship, and I agree. Entrepreneurship for me should be something that should be, embedded in every African, from childhood right down to adulthood. And through my presentation, you will see why I say that. And if Africa has to develop, if Africa has to turn its fortunes around, if Africa will be the first-class continent that we all wanted to be, it will definitely be through entrepreneurship. And one good thing is that Africans are generally, by research, very entrepreneurial. We do not just sit down and beg for alms as people. Whenever we are hungry, we seem to find ways of surviving. And through that, we are able to build enterprises that even overwhelm us sometimes. By statistics, Africans are most entrepreneurial, but unfortunately, most of the things that we do are hinged on surviving. So even though a large number of Africans are entrepreneurial, a lot of us are not actually building those global businesses that would transform the African economy. But numbers is always good when you talk about entrepreneurship. Numbers is all and gets doing something very active. Collectively, we'll be able, turn our economies around. So we're going to look at every African has one or two or three or more entrepreneurial aspirations. I have trained over 10,000 youth in over 12 years in my various trainings, and for each one of those people that I train, every one of them seem to have multiple ideas. And even for those that haven't even started businesses, they have what we call conglomerates and a group of companies. And this is exciting for me, because if you haven't even started a business, how do you know you succeed in one to move on to building others? That passion alone is a compliment that I believe that just possessing that alone would enable you to be a success. And I'm very happy. But when you find that amazing idea that you believe is going to change your life, change your community, change your country, just get down to working on it, and you never know how amazing this idea is going to turn out to be. Now, we're going to look at entrepreneurship and the reason why I believe it is the key to Africa's total economic emancipation. Africa, over the years, has been blessed with natural resources. We have everything that the world wants. We have gold, we have bauxite, we have manganese, we have oil. We have every natural resource that the world needs. And unfortunately, for a long time, as a result of bad leadership, we've not been able to, turn these natural resources that we've for a long time and transformed our continent with them. But fortunately, currently, Africa's greatest asset is its human resource. Beyond all the natural resources that are even left underneath the African soil, one of the major things that Africa can use to is its human resource. It's people, you and I, everybody that's going to listen and everybody that's listening now. You should know that currently we are Africa's greatest assets. And through that, everything that we ever desire, every challenge that we ever have, every problem that we ever encounter, we'll be able to solve those and we'll be able to transform this continent with this one fact that Africa's greatest asset is its people, its human resource. And entrepreneurship is based on enhancing the potential of the human resource. And when everybody in Africa becomes entrepreneurial, you would see that it wouldn't be long for Africa's fortunes to turn around. So we are going to look at entrepreneurship is, because as I said, we're going to break the topic down. The first is, what is entrepreneurship? And I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this long word called entrepreneurship. But for me, entrepreneurship is only the continuous process of becoming consistently valuable to the marketplace. There is a marketplace, even in your family, in your community, in your church, in your school, in your society, in your country. There's always a marketplace, and a marketplace is only where you exchange. We used to have the barter system where you have some sort of an asset or some sort of a good or something in exchange for something you want. But now we have this marketplace that for everything that you want, you have to go with something and exchange it for that. And that's the marketplace that I'm talking about. Now, entrepreneurship is that continuous process of becoming consistently valuable to the marketplace. And in this context, I am looking at you, the individual, even before we get to all the business of starting a business, growing a business plan. All those things are quite confusing because consultants like myself try to make it complex so that you pay us to do it. But break it down, let's break it down today. And then you will see that the continuous process of becoming consistently valuable to the marketplace. There is nothing like something for nothing. There are no freebies in this world. Even the things that are free have mostly been paid for by someone. All right, and know that and accept that no freebies in this world. There's no free lunch. There's something that you need to exchange for it. In other contexts, they call it the price you have to pay. What is that price that you have? What the price is, to go to the marketplace and exchange it. All that process is known as entrepreneurship. The second one is becoming an asset to the society through the consistent development and relentless application of relevant skills. I know it's a lot of big words in it, but I'll break it down for you to understand. An asset as against liability is anything that brings you money, anything that brings you resources, anything that you can use in exchange for whatever you want. A liability takes money away from you. Okay, so some of you have friends that are liabilities. Some of you have are in relationship with people that are liabilities because they take away from you and they don't add to you. Now, some of you by yourself are also liabilities. When you sit down with people, do you add to them or do you take away from them? When you are in the office, do you add to the company or do you take away from the company? When you are in the school, do you add to the school or do you take away from the school? And these are the assets that we are looking at. You as an individual, you need to measure what is your assets value as a now, because asset is what the world buys. Asset is what you use to trade in the marketplace. Now, being an asset to the society is what makes somebody entrepreneurial. And you become an asset in two ways. First, developing some set of relevant skills. And relevant skills means that there are some skills that we have that are obsolete. The world is changing very fast. Unfortunately, Africa is not changing as fast as the rest of the world, but we'll catch up, and we'll catch up because most of us need to recognize that there are some set of skills that are becoming fast obsolete, right? And these obsolete skills will be useless to a lot of us. But when you recognize that the skills that you have are getting obsolete, then you need to upgrade those skills and make them relevant enough so that you be an asset to the society and to the marketplace. But you build on these skills by consistently identifying skills that you lack but you need, all right, and developing it. Developing a skill is first through acquisition of knowledge and application of that knowledge. There are some people who know but cannot do. There are some people too that do not even write it out if you ask them to. But those people are far better than those who know and don't apply. And that's why there are professors, there are lecturers, there are teachers that are still broke, because they know something. They have some level of knowledge, but they don't know how to apply it. And unfortunately, that's one of the challenges of Africa, because our educational system gives us knowledge, rewards us with certificates as an evidence of knowledge. But unfortunately, most of us are not able to transform the knowledge into the skills that we can apply, into skills that makes us assets to the society or valuable to the marketplace. So first of all, you need to have what we call a skills inventory. You need to have what we call a skills inventory. All right, and skills inventory, I advise everybody to do it alongside what we normally do at the end of every year, New Year's resolution. Everybody at the end of every year goes to church, goes to the mosque, or goes to wherever you go, club, whatever. But by 31st December to 1st January, everybody does one thing that we all know called what? New Year's resolution. But there's one thing that most of us don't do, which is very unfortunate, which is skills inventory. At the end of every year, every quarter of the year, every month, if you may, every week, make a list of all the skills that you have. Because you see, there's nothing like a useless skill unless that skill has become obsolete. But even that is better than not having skills at all. What knowledge sets do you have? And how are you able to apply this knowledge in the marketplace? Okay, whether to yourself, to your society, to your home, to your school, to whatever. And then when we get to the various types of entrepreneurship, I'm going to show you how relevant these skills are going to be. But what is your skill sets? Do a skills inventory. Sit down, have a list of write out a list of all the skills that you have. All right? And then find out, you can compare it to the year that we are in. We are in 2017. I don't presume that everybody or anybody would have 2017 skills. So you just take the 2 digits at the last. So 17. If you have 17 different skills, these are various types of skills. All right? Skills of maybe graphic designing, skills of speaking, skills of writing, skills of, there are so many skills that you might have, but make sure it is something that is not just something you know, but something you can do. Skills of computing, skills of coding, skills of repairing something, skills of so many things. So you can write all those things down and then find out which of these skills are relevant to the kind of marketplace that you want to play. Because we all have dreams, we all have ideas, we all have vision, but it is important to know how relevant the skills you have now are to the vision that we are all carrying, to the mission that we have for our lives. And if you realize that the skills that you have will not help you to advance as quickly as possible because of the essence, we don't have time anymore. The world is moving at a rate that is unbelievable. All right. And if we want to compete and we want to even beat them as a continent or as a people, we need to be able to build our skills at a very fast rate and apply it even faster. All right. So when you realize that you don't have the necessary skills to help you get to where you want to get to, you start building those skills, as I said, consistently developing it and relentlessly applying it. For most of us who know how to drive, you know that when you started, it wasn't the same way you are doing now. When you started driving, both hands were on the steering wheel and you were staring on the streets 24/7 if you were driving the whole day. But now you can actually even close eyes and drive because you've consistently and relentlessly applied the skills of driving over time, and now you are expert in driving, right? So it's the same thing with every skill. When you're learning a new skill, it takes a bit of time, but when you're consistent with it, you see that you build expertise and then you become good at it. Now, when you're not the best, don't expect to get the best price at the marketplace, because the marketplace is set up in such a way that it pays more premium value for premium talent, premium value for premium skills. When you're the best at what you do, you don't even have to chase money. Money will start chasing you, because what you have done for yourself is now you have made yourself a rare asset. All right. So it's like going to business class in an airplane. Even though a lot of people go to economy, you go to business class because now you are part of the elite society of people that are valuable to the marketplace. So it's not just about having skills, and unfortunately, a lot of us get to learn a lot of things and we are not good at any. All right. It's like jack of all trades, but master of none. But the world is getting to a place where we are looking for specialization. So when you do your skills inventory, make a list of the ones that you are very good at and narrow it down to at least the best 3, and even narrow it down to one that you know that no matter what, in the region you are in the states that you are in the country that you are in, when we talk about the best 3, in fact, when we talk about the best 1, you should be the person, and then money will start chasing you. All right, so relevant skills, and that's very important. Now we're going to look at 4 types of entrepreneurship. I don't really have time, so forgive me if I'm running through. We're going to have... Okay, so I've been told I have time. So yes, I'll stay here with you for a while, but you can send your questions through and I'm sure I'm going to address them as we go along. So as we go on, we're going to talk about 4 types of entrepreneurship. When I told you that I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship because I believe entrepreneurship can solve every problem on earth. So we're going to look at 4 types of entrepreneurship, and this probably will debunk some of the theories that you've had that or you've heard about that entrepreneurship is all about starting business, but that's just one type of entrepreneurship. I have 4 types of entrepreneurship that you might probably not see anywhere in any of the textbooks you will read. The first one I call personal entrepreneurship. The second one is career entrepreneurship. The third one is capitalist entrepreneurship. And the fourth one is social entrepreneurship. And all these 4 types of entrepreneurship will apply, in our efforts to make Africa independent, in our effort to make Africa economically emancipated. So we're going to take all these 4 various types, and we're going to look at them one after the other. So what do I mean by personal entrepreneurship? Now, whatever endeavor first thing you have to do is to sit down and discover yourself. Know thyself. And that's the wisest quote, wisest advice anybody can give you. Because you see, when you know yourself, you know your capacity, you know what you can take, what you cannot take, what you can do, what you cannot do. And you don't lie to yourself, because the worst lie you can tell is the one you tell yourself. All right? Now, personal entrepreneurship is knowing yourself and continuously working at becoming a better version of yourself every day. We spend a lot of time looking around us and getting into all sorts of unnecessary competition, and we put unnecessary pressure on us to outdo each other. But unfortunately, it won't take us anywhere. The first thing you need to do when we talk about personal entrepreneurship is know yourself. All right. And in knowing yourself, there's so many resources online that can help you. I mean, there are temperaments that you can read. There are 4 types of temperaments. It will tell you a lot about who you are. There's about emotional intelligence. You can take a lot of tests to know what you can endure, what you cannot endure. And even looking at the type of temperament you are, which work environment will be good for you, or which business will be good for you, and all those things. First of all, personal entrepreneurship is personal development, knowing yourself and continuously working at becoming a better version of yourself. The second point about personal entrepreneurship is discovering your talent, interest, or purpose in life and pursuing it relentlessly. Now, when you talk about purpose in life, it's a big topic that a lot of us are still looking for. I have not. I don't know whether I've discovered my purpose or not, but I think that purpose would not be different from what you're already interested in. Because you see, the one that created us, I don't know what your belief is, but I believe in God, and I believe that He deposited in each one of us something that would make us useful to this world, and that thing that He put in us is what a lot of people call either talents or potential or purpose. Now, every one of us has something to contribute to this world. Every one of us has something to contribute to this continent. Every one of us has something to contribute to this, or to even the community that you are, or even to your family. And it starts with what is already inside you. Now, when you discover the things that you are interested in, because it comes without effort. For me, I was always a talkative, and I see this everywhere. There was no list of talkatives that my name was not first or second. In fact, if it wasn't first or second, then it was a counterfeit list of talkatives. So for a long time, I knew that I liked to talk. But talking just makes you a talkative, and a talkative is a nuisance. Nobody pays somebody to be a talkative. In fact, they avoid them as much as possible. So I realized that if I have to if I have to actually, make any living out of this talking behavior that I had, or talking talent that I had to transform it into what is known as speaking. Right? And you transform something that you easily do through the acquisition and application of relevant skills. So then you have to take classes in something like public speaking. You have to know how to present. You have to know how to do PowerPoint. You have to know, so go forth, how to overcome anxiety, how to do webinars, how to talk through mics with our people, and all those things. And those things are things that people now pay for, because now you've turned something that was potentially a nuisance into an asset, and now the marketplace is paying for it. You know, so first discover your talents, your interests, the things that don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just take an inventory of the things that you do easily, the things that you love to do, and then find out who in this world is doing this thing commercially, who in this world is doing this thing as a business, who in this world is doing it as a career, and how do I build or discover the skills that I need, and how do I start developing those skills. So personal entrepreneurship is discovering your talent, interest, or purpose in life and pursuing it relentlessly. The third one is equipping yourself with requisite skills needed to be relevant and valuable to the marketplace. Remember what I told you about entrepreneurship? There's always a marketplace, and it's that marketplace that you go and exchange what you have for what you want. You see, young people especially go around with this mentality of I deserve it, you know, and I'm a young, so the world owes me something, so I need to be favored, I need to be gifted, I need all those things that we have an entitlement mentality as young people. But the fact of the matter is that nobody owes you anything, really, and without you the world will still go on. Haven't you seen presidents who have died and the country moved on in the next minute? Haven't you seen celebrities who died and the continent moved on? I mean, really, you're relevant, you're important, but you are not indispensable. And that's one of the things you need to know. The world can do without you, but from all the things that you do and the contribution to the world, you know that you're contributing something that without you, a number of people might not even discover their purpose. So by executing your purpose, a lot of people, you unlock the opportunity for other people to also do the same. But the fact of the matter is that there's always a marketplace, and it is that marketplace that you go to exchange what you have for what you want. And that's the point I really want to emphasize on. What do you want? And what is the price you want to pay for? And whatever price you want to pay for would come from you. And it comes through the exchange of requisite and relevant skill sets. So always bear that in mind. Let's go to the second one. The second one is what I call career entrepreneurship. And this is one of the challenges from most of my interactions and the research and everything I've done with a lot of entrepreneurs or even business people. One of the major challenges we have is their staff, is the people that work with them. Because human capital is a challenge in most African businesses. You know, I really don't know why, but I think that is also because a lot of people are not exposed to what is known as career entrepreneurship. So most people go to work thinking that they are working for somebody. But what they forget is that whatever you get through working for somebody, you don't leave it behind, you leave that person. All right. So career entrepreneurship is about enhancing your knowledge and skills as a chosen career. So this is what you want to do. So you start building the knowledge and the skills that makes you relevant in that career. And it's for you. All right. Becoming better today than you were yesterday at your job. So for those of you who are working and thinking that, oh, you are employees and not entrepreneurs, I'm here to tell you that you're also entrepreneurs. In other narratives, they call them intrapreneurs, but I call them career entrepreneurs, because the thing is, you're building a certain career, and when you leave whatever post or job you have, you go with that, carry it along. That's why it's called career. So you're carrying it along. All right, you don't leave it behind. Whatever skill set you build, whatever tendencies, capabilities, or technical know-how you build, you take it along with you. All right, so you enhance your knowledge and skills as a chosen career and ensure that you're becoming better today than you were yesterday at your job. And this is a continuous process. Some people stop learning, so then they stop becoming better. They stop becoming relevant, and they stop becoming an asset. So then they become easily replaceable. There are some people now that when you turn in your resignation, your bosses will be happy because they probably wanted to get rid of you a long time ago, but they haven't found a way of doing it politely, or they haven't found an excuse beyond the fact that you've plateaued. So what you were yesterday is the same that you are today and will be the same tomorrow. And they need somebody who is more vibrant and enthusiastic about the work. So then it gets to the point where, and it leads to my next point, you are no more an asset at work. You come, you do what you're told to do, and you go. You come, you do what you're told to do, and you go. That does not make you an asset. That makes you very replaceable. Your number one goal is that for every work, every career, every job that you do, you should aim at becoming irreplaceable. We are all in this, we are all this, yes, we can be gotten rid of, we can die, and the world will move on, your job will move on, they'll get you someone to replace you. But the fact is, no matter who they get to replace you, they should always miss you, because there's always a gap that you leave at your former workplace, because nobody can be like you. And that should be your goal if you're a career entrepreneurship. The next point is becoming the best, not for your employer, but for yourself. You see, when you get a job, you are giving an opportunity to enhance your capability. When you get a job, you are giving an opportunity to experiment on somebody's time and resources. When you get a job, you are given an opportunity to become better than you were before with somebody's resources. But we don't see it like that a lot of the times when we get a job. We see it as we are working for somebody, we are enriching somebody, and we are making somebody money. So then we start grumbling, we start biting, we start doing all sorts of things, even to the extent that we bring the company down and we move on. But the fact of the matter is that, listen, the reason why you have a CV whenever you go around is that you are showing people how much of an asset you are, but nothing can be compared to delivery. Because your CV can look good, it can look, oh, you've worked in a lot of places, but then you get to another job, they give you an opportunity, and you're not able to perform. Because what you've done is you just move from one place to another without becoming better. You get it? So you might have an experience of moving from one place to the other, but you don't have the experience of being the best at what you do. But where we are going now, as a continent, as a world, as a global village, if you're not the best at what you do, don't expect to be paid top salary. A lot of us are asking for salary increments, but you're not checking whether we are better. You see, your bosses or your employers should be afraid to lose you because you are good at what you do. So they are the ones that would consistently be calling you to find out, is there anything we can do to make you stay comfortable? You see, listen, if you're in any job, I'm sure that maybe you tuned in because you were expecting me to tell you all about starting a business and all that. But listen, we all cannot start businesses. Some of us would have to work for people. I'm sure you agree with me. But the fact is, working for people does not make you less of an entrepreneur, because you are building your career, you are building your capacity to deliver with excellence. All right? So if you're in an employment right now and your bosses are not consistently engaging you to find out what they can do to make you stay comfortable, then you're not that valuable to the marketplace. It means that you're becoming very replaceable. If today you say you're leaving, they might be sad because now it will take a while to replace you. But eventually when they replace you, they won't even remember you. And I've had this experience with most of the people that I have worked with. When they leave, it's painful, but then you find somebody who is even better than them and you never remember them anymore. And that's not a plus. Because I had one instance where somebody left me and then went roam, and then eventually ended up in a friend's office. And in his CV, he stated my company as one of the places he's worked. But he wasn't the best, and he wasn't even that good. So unfortunately, when my friend called me for a reference, I told him what I knew about the guy, and unfortunately, he didn't get the job. Because it's not just about hopping from one place to the other, but it's about being so good that your bosses are even afraid to lose you. Okay, I'll just move on because there's so much I have to share. But remember that career entrepreneurship is about becoming the best, not for your employer. Remember that. Let your employer make all the money. Fine. Let your employer, whatever. Yes, you should be paid your worth. But it is not for you to tell them. It is for you to show them. All right? Because when you're good enough, trust me, they will negotiate, keep negotiating. And the day you even make an attempt to go, they will practically double, triple, or whatever you need to ensure that you stay. And I'm sure you agree. So I just move on. Now, the last one is enhancing your capacity to deliver effectively and efficiently. Now, effectively is using whatever resources, whether it is limited or unlimited, well. And efficiently is using resources well, but in the best time possible. Effective has to do with delivery. Efficiency has to do with time. And when you're an employee or you have a career, always ensure that these two words are your watchwords. Are you doing it well, better than anybody else? And are you doing it in good time? Because some of us can do things very well. Like me, when I'm doing my graphic design, I'm the best at it. But something that would take maybe a graphic designer an hour, take probably the whole day to do, because yes, I know how to do graphic designing, but I'm not able to do it in the best of time. So then graphic design is something I do as a hobby, not as a career. Now, use these two words always as your watchwords. Are you doing whatever you're supposed to do well? Very well. And I told you, become an asset. And becoming an asset is becoming the best at what you do. And are you doing it in good time? Because there's a difference between doing something well but doing it the whole day, and doing something well but doing it in 1 hour. Because then if you're able to do it well and in good time, it means that you'll be given more opportunity to enhance your own capacity. All right? So use these two words as your watchwords all the time, and even for traditional entrepreneurship. All right, let's go to capitalist entrepreneurship. Now, capitalist entrepreneurship, what a lot of people know as the normal entrepreneurship, okay? All right, you find a problem, you find a challenge, you find a business opportunity, you find an investment opportunity, and then you apply your skills or resources at addressing it for a profit. All right, and you look around and say, okay, there's a lack of this here, so I want to buy that, and then people pay me for it. So then you start building a business. All right, people sell mineral water, people sell this, people have schools, and you identify a certain opportunity. The opportunity can come in the form of a problem, a challenge, a business opportunity, an investment opportunity, whatever. And then you apply either your skills or your resources. And resources could be money, it could be an asset, it could be something that you have that you can exchange for profit. Now, a lot of you want to go into businesses, but your challenge has to do with what everybody calls capital. And it's funny because you see, capital is not just money. The first capital that you should ensure you have is yourself. What is your worth? And a lot of us are not able to sit down and evaluate our worth. What is your worth? Even before you start going about looking for money. Because the truth about money is that money goes where it's attracted to. And that's why you see a lot of rich people becoming richer, because rich people like to be around rich people. And if you want to be rich, start looking rich. All right? If you want, and that's why a lot of people that I have met that are rich now, they became rich mentally, fiscally, before becoming rich through money. All right? And your skill set adds up to your value. Do you have a skill to put together a business plan and go out there and convince people? Okay, so that's your negotiation skills, that's your presentation skills. How do you convince people that this business, this problem, this challenge needs to be solved, and this is the solution, and this is how much it costs, and this is the worth of it? And if you put in money, because as I told you, there's always a marketplace, and money is always available. But most times, we are not able to evaluate our personal worth and the worth of our ideas enough to exchange it for whatever resources that we need. And I wouldn't overemphasize this, but maybe I'll come back. But listen, before you go about looking for capital, check the worth of your own capital. And this in three forms. First is your level of knowledge in whatever sector or business you want to go into. Your skill set, relevant, adequate skill set, and the money that you're looking for. These two, your knowledge and your skills, will attract the money. So you become before you get. Remember that. You have to become before you attract or you get. The second one that has to do with capitalist entrepreneurship is transforming your hobby into a business, either accidentally or intentionally, through a consistent application and improvement. You know, there are two forms of business, and whenever I do my training, I tell people that, listen, the reason why a lot of people go around looking for money before they start a business is that the kind of business they want to start is known as an investment business. All right. Now, investment kind of business is a business that you need money in order to start. But there's another kind of business which is a hobby kind of business. Now, a hobby kind of business is, you know what hobby is? The things that we do for fun. Okay. Now, the things that we do for fun, and if people identify the things that we do for fun as assets worthy enough to exchange resources for. So for instance, let's give an example. You cook. All right, and you cook for fun because you love to cook, and this pertains to both men and women, gender balance. So men also have to cook, and the best chefs are all men anyway. So let's say you cook for fun, and accidentally you happen to cook for maybe a family member or a friend for an engagement or for a certain event, and this is free. Okay, now the people that enjoy the food now decided to find out who cooked. And at this point, you're not even in business, but they just wanted to find out who cooked the food, and because the food was really good. And now your friend who you cooked for, or your relative who you cook for, now refers you to their friend who needs your services. So the friend offers to pay you an amount, maybe to cover the foodstuffs, then the transport, because at that time you're still not in business, so you're not even charging for it. So then the person pays you, you go, you apply the skills and knowledge of cooking to cook again. And now you get a bigger audience because maybe this person has a bigger network with more resourceful people. So now you start getting orders from different kinds of people for the same thing that you were initially doing for fun. So now you need to build your capacity on how to manage these orders, and they call it customer service. All right. So now you decide that, okay, you're going to have a phone that people can call you on. You're going to take notes. You're going to book. You're going to get the dates. You're going to get them receipts and all that. And that's business, really. But because now you're getting lots of orders, you need help. So then you for people to help you. And in a pure capitalist context, you call these people employees. At that time, you probably are not still in business. But then when the orders still keep coming, you realize that now you need to pay attention to this. For all you know, you're even doing a full-time job somewhere, but you realize that now your hobby is taking a lot more of your time and bringing you even a lot more money than your traditional business. So now you quit your business and then you focus on this hobby that is now a business. And that's the second type of capitalist entrepreneurship that a lot of people don't pay attention to. What are you good at? What is that thing that you are so good at that you don't even know that it can be business, but people are asking you for? Some of you are very good at coding. Some of you are very good at graphic design. Some of you are very good at speaking. Some of you are very good at event organizing, contract, no pay. Anything you will organize. Just hear that somebody is doing a baby shower, and you come up with all sort of innovative ways of doing events. And you don't even know that that's an event management business, big event management business. Let somebody leave you a property and you manage it, you clean it, you make sure it is neat, and you don't even know that that's called facilities management. So the things that you're doing for fun traditionally are businesses, but because you enjoy doing these things so much, even when you're not paid for it, you still do it. All right, and those are the things that you have to pay attention to, because in doing that, you find what we call fulfillment. And listen, the end result of every rich life is fulfillment, because there are some people that are very wealthy in money-wise, in monetary terms, but they don't have fulfillment. They don't have peace of mind. And that's not where you want to go to. And most people end up sick. Most people end up with all sorts of challenges because they're like round pegs in square holes. They are doing something, but that's not what they love. And they are afraid that if they stop and go to what they love, they might not make enough money as they probably are making with the thing that they're doing now. But trust me, at the end of life, what you're looking for is fulfillment that comes from a peace of mind, knowing that you have given to this world the best of you. All right? So the hobby kind of business is what I always encourage people to start with, and build your capacity, build your skills, and get to the point where you're so good that people want to pay for. So now with the cooking example I gave, you've gotten a lot of orders. So now you need to have a price tag, or even increase your price so that you can eliminate people, because you can't cook for all of them. So you increase your price, and then eventually you build your capacity, you set up an office, you get a kitchen, and now you're in business. Now they call you a professional caterer. The same thing with sewing. Now they call them fashion designers. The same thing with security. Now they call them what? They don't even call them watchmen anymore. They call them security agencies. All right, but they're watchmen, as we know. But now they have Ubers, and now they have Uber drivers who are an upgrade of taxi drivers, who are an upgrade of trotro drivers, So, I mean, it's just a matter of branding. But whatever the case is, there are skill sets that you have. There are things that you're interested in. Pay attention to them. Whoever thought that taking pictures would be a big business now? Really? I mean, when we were kids, people were taking pictures and they were not so rich. But now we have photographers that are rich. You have people that just walk. They call them models that are rich. We have people that just stand at the doorway and they call them protocols or ushers, and they are rich. So whatever you do for fun, trust me, you can make money. And I said this somewhere, and somebody was like, what about sleeping? Aren't there sleeping tablets? And if you are good at sleeping already, I'm sure people will use you and you can still make money. Can you imagine sleeping and still making money? And somebody said, what about watching movies? You know, there are people that censor movies. There are people that watch and then they're able to grade the movies. So they watch movies for fun. There are people that play games so that they can rate the games and they play games for fun. Listen, everything you love to do, you can make money from it, and that's capitalist entrepreneurship. So let me go to the last one, which is the new kind of entrepreneurship called social entrepreneurship. And for a lot of the people that I have trained, a lot of people I've encountered, and Africans in general, we are very as people will call hospitable. We are very caring, we are very empathetic, we are very sympathetic. So a lot of the businesses that people have, they are charity kind of business. In fact, almost everybody I've met, whether now or later in their lives, want to do something charitable. All right. But by 2020, aid is not going to come anywhere, and I'm very happy about it. Africa does not need aid anymore. But now there's a new form of entrepreneurship called social entrepreneurship. And social entrepreneurship, by my terms, is known as impact enterprise. An impact enterprise is a business, but it's a business whose focus is on addressing the challenges in the society through the provision of services and products and the acquisition of income, which is put back into social impact activities. I know it's a mouthful, so I'll go back. An impact enterprise, which is an explanation for social entrepreneurship, is a business whose focus is on addressing challenges in the society through the provision of services and products and the acquisition of income, which is put back into social impact activities. You got that? So it's not just charity, all right? This is the economic empowerment and social impact version of charities and NGOs. Charities by their nature are organizations that have social impact activities but depend heavily on grants and donations. But the world has moved from there, and Africa needs to move from there as well. We need to get into what the world knows now as social entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurship, by the definition, are business people, but they are not capitalists. They make money just to put back into the society. So you realize that my organization is a social enterprise. So what we do is we train people and empower people, and we help them to build businesses. And through that, we're able to build capacities of people. And whatever money we make, we put it back into training people as well. All right. So this is an upgraded version of charity. So if you want to go into social enterprise, you need to be a business-minded person first, because you need to come up with products and services, and in exchange for that, make money. But you don't keep the profit as it is in the capitalist society. You plow back the profit into your social impact activities. So those are the four types of entrepreneurship that we have. But remember the topic, right? Entrepreneurship being a key to Africa's total economic emancipation. So we'll quickly look at what emancipation is. Okay? Emancipation is the process of freeing ourselves from whichever impediment that is holding us back. Now, when somebody is emancipated, it means that there's no shackle, there's nothing that holds them back anymore. All right, so you have dreams and something is holding you back. You are in bondage, you're not emancipated, you're not free. All right, if you have ideas and for a long time you've not been able to transform these ideas into businesses or into anything that you desire, then you're not free. Africa is not free. Africa is still heavily dependent on loans and facilities and grants from all sorts of places. And when you're not independent, you're not free. All right. So let's look at economic emancipation. Economic emancipation is the process of becoming financially self-reliant without a dependency on aid or interventions from other countries, donors, or what people term themselves development partners. Now, this is where Africa wants to get to. Can you imagine a continent with so much natural resource? We've not been able to convert these natural resources to making us a world-class continent and self-reliant. And as at now, even though we supply the rest of the world with all these natural resources, we are still very heavily dependent on aids. And that's very unfortunate. But, to accuse our leadership without realizing that even as individuals, that is what we are also doing. Some of us are operating way below your potential, and every day, even though you feel very uncomfortable and you feel that there's so much you can do, you are still operating at a level that is way, way, way below your potential. And people are using you and tossing you up and down and not giving you the value. You are selling yourself cheap. And that's what Africa does. When you have raw talent and you're not able to refine this raw talent and use it in the marketplace in exchange for what you want, don't expect to get anything else apart from what you're already getting. When you're a musician and you have a good voice and you don't go to the studio, you don't do voice training, you don't have a coach, you don't have a professional instrument, you don't have somebody that helps you with the beat and all that, don't expect to have any hit songs. And that's why even in Ghana, most of the musicians that are doing very well, they just don't sing, but some of them have built studios and learned the skills of the combo and all those things, so they can do 100, 200, 300 songs within a very short time, and out of all those songs that they do, one or two or three is certain to hit. But you want to do just one song because what, you have this amazing voice, but you're not harnessing it and you're selling yourself cheap. And that's what Africa for a long time has done. But now we're at a point where we cannot do this anymore, and it's starting with you and I. The level that you're operating in right now, is it your best? Can you do a little more? Can you do a little better than you did today, than you did yesterday? Can you add a little skill to this? Can you be more inquisitive? Can you ask more questions? Can you learn more? What are you doing today that you didn't do yesterday that makes you better tomorrow? Did you get that? What are you doing today that you didn't do yesterday that would make you better tomorrow? Because if you are the same tomorrow, you would definitely get what you're getting today, which makes you unhappy. It's the same with African continent. All right? So, well, now I don't have time. So, a lot of the time when you talk about entrepreneurship, people end up, quenching the whole enthusiasm and excitement and passion and all that with what is known as challenges of entrepreneurship. And I'm sure a lot of you who are already in business, and those of you who want to go into business, or those who are going into research and all that, the challenges of entrepreneurship in Africa, you can easily find. Just Google it, challenges of entrepreneurship in Africa, and you'll find a lot. But for me, I don't have any challenges when I'm doing entrepreneurship training. Every challenge I see for me is known as opportunities of entrepreneurship. Because if it is challenge, then you need to come up with a solution. And if you're able to come up with the right solution at the right price, it would make you rich. And look at all the millionaires, billionaires across the world. What they're doing, they are providing solutions to the challenges that the country faces. And the reason I say entrepreneurship is the key to Africa's economization is that we have so many challenges. And in finding solutions through the application of in all the four types of entrepreneurship, you'll be able to transform Africa to where we want it to be, isn't it? So then, looking at these various challenges and looking at the opportunities to present, by presenting solutions, Africa will get to where we want it to be. So let's look about 6 different opportunities, which in other words, people might call challenges, but I see it as opportunities, okay? Now, these opportunities could be in large scale or could be in small scale. But whatever the case is, there are some of them that probably will need government intervention, because it is important that the governments of Africa should know that providing an enabling environment for entrepreneurship to thrive is very important. All right, so that I'm not debunking at all. It is a fact that governments of Africa should consistently make it a point to provide an enabling environment for entrepreneurship to thrive, right from a young age to an adult stage. But let's look at these 6 identifiable challenges, which is an opportunity for entrepreneurship. The first is education. There was a time that education in Africa was all about government, but you and I know about the revolution of private education, where from nursery all the way to university, there are private schools that are even comparatively better than the government schools because they give more attention to the students. Now, Africa largely provides knowledge-based education, which is a problem. What we need is skills-based education. So because of lack of skills-based education, it provides you and I opportunity to set up, and that's why I like organizations like Simon Page, because now our focus is on providing skills-based education, which enables and empowers people to be entrepreneurial. So that's one opportunity for you. So those of you who are looking for ideas and areas to go, education is one of them, all right? And it starts from nursery, primary, JHS, SHS, all the way to university. Now, infrastructure. Large-scale infrastructure is the responsibility of government because we pay taxes. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you pay taxes. But the fact is, there are some infrastructure developments, like look at the real estates. Okay, we are saying that we need millions and millions of housing. We have the housing deficit is in the millions. But the fact is, you and I were here when all these real estate businesses started on a small scale, and now some of them have built 1,000 units, 2,000 units, and even going to 10,000 units. And we saw it. All right. So the lack of infrastructure is not only a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. Now, the same with energy. We have all these, as in Ghana, we call doomsor. In Nigeria, it has its own name and everything. But in the midst of the energy crisis, which is a major challenge of entrepreneurship, is also an opportunity, because now we have all these cartels that bring all these generators. And now people are going to solar, people are going to biogas, people are going to all sorts of solutions to address the energy challenge. And trust me, if you're able to come up with a solution for energy which costs less than the national grid, we'll leave the national grid and come for yours. And that's entrepreneurship, isn't it? Now, access to market, linking buyers to sellers is a big deal. And now that we have internet, that's one of the opportunities that you need. Even though it's a challenge to entrepreneurship, it's an opportunity for you and I as well. And of course, funding. All right, now there are lots of equity funding, there are lots of private funding, there are lots of impact funding, a lot of patient capital. But the problem with that is we don't have enough investment and credit-worthy organizations. All right, so when we talk about funding, there are two forms. Either you set up the fund that supports their businesses, or you support the businesses to be able to attract the funding. And in attracting the funding, you get some shares, just like what the second richest man is doing. All right, so then he has Hathaway, and Hathaway invests in organizations and all that. But the fact is this: you can either set up a fund, and if you don't have the capacity, you can build your capacity in how to help businesses to be what? Investment ready. And then in attracting investment for them, you'll be able to have shares, and then you make money. And then building partnerships. And that's one of the challenges that a lot of African businesses face. We don't like partnerships. We don't like collaboration. They say we are nice people, but we can't work together. It's only because when you're working together with people, we don't pay attention to write out the terms of engagement. I don't care if I'm even doing a business with my wife. I don't care if I'm doing a business with my brother or my sister or my family or whatever. We need to have an agreement, because it's not for today, it's for tomorrow. And most of the times people start partnership because they have this dream which is shared. But the moment money starts coming in, then they now evaluate inputs. So then they're like, oh, I put in more than you, I put in more, and then that's where the disagreement is. But even from the beginning, when there's no money and it's just idea and passion, when you sit down and come up with a plan of engagement and a partnership agreement, that is what will solve the problems when later money comes in and there are lots of disagreement. But you as a potential entrepreneur, this is also an area that you can go into. How do you come up with systems, resources that enhances and enables smooth partnerships, smooth buyouts, smooth mergers, and all those things? And it's big business. You don't even need to be a lawyer. You just need to know how to do it and get lawyers involved. All right, so that's my presentation, and I think that I don't have too much time. I don't know if I'm going to take questions, but that's my presentation, and I'm hoping that at least in all the 4 types of entrepreneurship, you've picked and selected the one that best suits you, and henceforth you're going to ensure that every day, at least every week, have a skills inventory, and then find out what are those assets you have that makes you available to the marketplace. Remember, Africa's greatest asset is you and I. And I believe that entrepreneurship is indeed the key to Africa's total economic emancipation. Thank you very much, Motivating Africa. I think you guys are doing an amazing job. I am committed to helping. And okay, so, and if you have any questions, please. Well, I lost the audio. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for tuning in. Rufai, I'm sorry you lost the audio. I hope you get it back, but I'm sure the presentation would be on the motivatingafrica.com website, and you can always check later. Okay, Anthony, please ask your question. So we are waiting for Anthony's question. Remember that there are 4 types of entrepreneurship: the personal, the career, the capitalist, and then the social entrepreneurship. So we're waiting for Anthony's question. If it comes in time, I would answer it. If it doesn't come in time, I would make sure that I find a way of answering it through my email. But my website is ekowmensah.com. When you go to the contact us page, you have all my contacts. My social media page is also Ekow Mensah ID. So I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can always contact me, and I'll be more than happy to help you out with everything that you're doing in line with entrepreneurship.
Motivating Africa is a project that is geared towards inspiring 1 million Africans. To suggest that Africa is a continent that is rich with potential and with opportunity is simply stating the obvious. Our challenge is not one of a lack of resources. Our challenge is not one of poverty. Our challenge fundamentally is a challenge of poverty of the mind. How do we inspire our people to believe more in their God-given potential? How do we motivate people so that they can believe more in themselves and see that it is within their power to achieve to heights even beyond their own imagination? How do we get our people to think creatively and to use their imagination so that they can open up their minds and unleash their potential? That is the objective of Motivating Africa, and we won't stop until we have been able to galvanize our people and energize them so that they can believe more in themselves and take action, so they can unchain themselves from the shackles that have long kept us down and held us down. That is our mission for Motivating Africa, and we won't stop until we get our people moving.
Okay, so welcome back. Anthony has a question, and how can we apply social other areas to create the kind of big impact that capitalist entrepreneurship creates in terms of scale? Social entrepreneurship, in essence, is also business. Okay, the only difference between capitalist entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship is capitalists, when they make money, they share it among the shareholders. But social entrepreneurship, when they make money, they plow it back into their social impact activities. So in essence, they don't share it amongst them as the shareholders of capitalist entrepreneurship do. So the whatever makes the capitalist entrepreneurship successful is essentially the same thing that would make social entrepreneurs successful. Okay, the advantage here is that because you are not going to spend the profits on the shareholders or on yourself as an entrepreneur, there are lots of impact investors that are more than willing to put money into your social enterprise. But the only thing is that they need to see that you are entrepreneur, you are business minded. So then we have things like a social enterprise business model that you need to learn about. So you can just go to the Google and then Google social enterprise business model and build a business model. You can even come up with a business plan, because don't forget, it's business. The only difference is that you now back the profits into your social impact activities. So your structures and systems have to work. The ideas that you come to the marketplace has to be valuable to the marketplace enough for people to want to buy. So for instance, if you're a social enterprise but you're into the production and distribution of mineral water, the only difference would be that for every mineral water that a customer buys, a percentage of the money goes to maybe some charities or goes to some social cause. But the only difference is people are now going to patronize, because invariably they feel that in buying your products, they are also supporting a greater good. So then you will see that you're making money, but then that's where you need to put your systems and strategies in place and show people, and in this case, it will be your investors and your entrepreneurs, your customers, that you are business minded and running it as a serious business and not just charity. Right? Because social entrepreneurs don't just wait for grants and donors as charities used. They go into the market just like capitalist entrepreneurs looking for investments. The only difference is that there's something called impact investors. And these impact investors use to measure the value of their investment is the impact that you are having with their investments. Unlike the capitalists where they look for interest and how much you've made on the money that they've given you. So that's the difference. But really, everything that makes a capitalist entrepreneur successful is the same thing that is also going to make a social entrepreneur successful. And when you are more successful, the society benefits, because whatever profit you make, you will also give back to society. So learn how normal entrepreneurs make money, and apply it to your enterprise as well. How can I get information on how to share social enterprise, and in which form I register in my company? Anthony Labi, what country are you in? You know, social enterprise is a new form of business. Okay, so a lot of countries don't have policies to address oh, you're in Ghana. Okay, great. So a lot of, even Ghana, we have what we call the social enterprise entrepreneurs, and you can Google me an email through my website and I would give you some of these resources, just ekow But even in Ghana, we are still fine-tuning the social enterprise policy. So when you go to register general, you can't register a social enterprise. What you can register is what is still known as the limited by guarantee, all right, which is like the normal NGO that we know, but you can operate it as my organization is. But eventually we're going to have a whole policy in place, and when it's passed into law, we are going to have registration framework that would give us all the tax incentives that we need to operate as a social enterprise. But for now, in Ghana, you can only register as a limited by guarantee. Okay, so, but you can contact me and I would help you. Thank you, Charles. How can Africans infrastructure is using infrastructure is broad, and most of the time when you hear infrastructure, you're talking about roads, you're talking about railways, you're talking about the aviation, and those are huge capital intensive projects. But even now in some other countries, you have private roads and all that, but you see, these are government infrastructure. But like affordable housing, which is a major infrastructure, things like schools, which is a major infrastructure. Things, so there are some infrastructure that, as an independent person or as an organization, you can all problems and challenges go opportunities, but in the challenges is always an opportunity. So maybe you can look at even your investment that this is not worth it because this is a government, but even governments now is doing what we call PPP, that is private public partnership. So now in Ghana, for instance, called one district, one factory, and they have this fund that so if you have an innovative idea, you can just go to the one district, one factory secretary, talk to them, come up with a business plan, and they will give you funding to do it. So according to PPP, that's public-private partnership, you'll be able to actually, get into some of these businesses, and you make a lot of money from it. So just look at the challenges with infrastructure, and you'll be able to identify some of these opportunities and how best to maximize it. How do I contact you? Anthony, just go to my website, ekowmensah.com. Ekow Mensah, that's AOWMENSAH.com. And then go to the contact us. You can either send me, there is a form there you can fill, or you can send me an email, info@ekowmensah.com. And then I would be more than happy to respond. I've been studying Mohammed Yunus' social entrepreneurship models and been thinking on how to adapt it in an African context. Do you see the possibility? Because I have a lot of social entrepreneurship solutions I'm still trying to implement. Mohammed's social entrepreneurship model is what a lot of us are using, okay? But the thing is, as I said, the infrastructure framework, the policy framework is still being formulated in a lot of African countries. And British Council, through its Entrepreneur Africa projects, is driving a these social entrepreneurship move. But the thing is, even from the question that you asked, one of your challenges is a lot of us have a lot of things that we are working on at the same time. But even robots work on one thing at a time. Do you know that? Machines work on one thing at a time. And even your laptops, if you open so many things at the same time, it will freeze, no matter how good the laptop is. So please, focus on one thing, all right? And some of these things, you might probably test it with the market and see the ones that are more relevant now. Because trust me, when you're successful as one thing, it might take 10 years to be successful, but then it would take you way less time to duplicate the success multiple things. Now look at all the organizations or look at all the individuals that cause or group thing. Even Dangote, Tony Elumelu and all those people, they started with one thing and they were successful. The good thing about focusing is that when you're successful, you have a proven record of success and they're able to trust you more with resources, skills, and even talents. Because people are more willing to work for people who are successful than people who are not. All right, even you, I'm sure you would love to work for people who are successful than people who are not. How would you be able to attract the kind of talent that you need to be able to execute all these social entrepreneurship solutions if you're not successful at least one thing? All right, so as the Bible says, show yourself worthy and then you will attract every other resource that you need. So please, I know you have a lot, list them all down and then narrow it down to at least the best 3 and then pray about it, talk to people and come up with one and at least dedicate just 6 months. And then if after 6 months is building capacity, just extend it to 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, be successful, get the resources, the money, the people, and then you can expand to a countless number of initiatives and nobody will stop you. All right, so I think that's my time. Oh, there's another. Okay, Rufai, we are waiting for you. All right, so please, as much as possible, I can need you. Africa's greatest asset is you, me, both of us, all of us. And when we are best at what we do, Africa collectively improves. All right, so let's be the best at what we do and then give Africa the very best. All right, Rafai, your question did not come, but I think my time is done. So please, for everybody that needs to contact me, please go to my website, ekowmensah.com, send me a message or email, and I would definitely reply. Rafai or Rufai, we are still waiting for you. All right, so Charles, I hope that we would have some conversation about the infrastructure opportunities. I believe that one of the major things I see is affordable housing, which is a big deal because real estate in Africa is very expensive. All right, I went to Ivory Coast recently and I saw some affordable housing that they had done, and it was amazing. Over 100 units, and they used aluminium or prefabs to do it. I realized that getting the right or committed individuals to work with is a big challenge in Ghana. To ensure business success, what would be your advice in relation to forming a team or employing people? All right, so I mentioned this in passing when I was addressing Anthony's question. Listen, tell me who you would want to work with: a successful businessman or a successful organization or a startup organization. Now, some people might want to be controversial, so they will say a startup organization. So let's break the startup organization into two. Between these startup organizations, who would you want to work with? The startup organization who has an entrepreneur with a vision, the resources, and the skill set to drive, the performance of the operation quicker, or the one that has a lot of ideas and doesn't know where they are going? And I'm sure you would go with the one that has an accurate vision and resources to push the venture. Now, this is the thing with working well, and I faced it too. For 10 years, when I started my business, I was like, why don't I attract the kind of people? And the thing is, you have to attract them. Okay, when you want to work with the best, they have to be attracted to your organization. So one of the ways of making your organization attractive is showing that the organization has a vision, and that is led by the leadership, which is you. No high performer wants to work for a low performing organization. You need to know that. A lot of entrepreneurs want people just like them. But if the people who are just like you are coming to work for you, it means that you need to be better than them. Otherwise, they would be also doing the same thing you're doing, and that is setting up their own businesses. And that's one of the truths that you need to realize. Nobody who's as good as you will want to work for you. People that work for you need to be challenged mentally because they know that they are coming to work for somebody who is going to add to them. All right? Otherwise, they will feel that you are using them. And that's a very bad position for any entrepreneur to be in. Don't be in that position where people that work for you feel that you're using them. Be in that position where people that work for you feel that in partnering with you, because entrepreneurs are essentially partners, in partnering with you, they stand a better chance of learning, adding to themselves, or being part of a revolution, or building something that they can be proud of, because that's part of their legacy. Don't forget that. So if your organization is not attractive, if the thing that you're working on is not attractive, I mean, when I saw Motivating Africa, just by their vision and what they've done on Facebook, they have over 200,000 likes. And for that alone, I wanted to be part of it because they've already demonstrated competence. All right? Most of us who have good ideas don't have the money to keep top talents. And that's the truth. People who are top performers, career enders, want to work in an organization that challenges them. And if you, an individual, is not even challenging enough, don't expect to work with people who are top performers. And that's one of the things that probably I'm sure you're facing. So the first thing I'll recommend, or the first advice I'll give you, is that take an inventory of who you are, what business you're trying to build, how big your vision is, and how big your drive is as a person, and where your business is currently. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a starter or very successful, which number would you give? All right, and depending on the number you give, look at how do you increase this number with time. And trust me, when people see that you are showcasing or showing evidence of success, they will be drawn to your organization, and you'll be able to attract the kind of top performance you need. And look for so much money so that no matter the price that they ask for, you'll be able to pay them. But I know that would not make your business sustainable. So first of all, as a person, make yourself attractive. Let people that come around you be people that you challenge. Okay? And then eventually make your organization attractive so that when they come in, they'll be challenged to do more. Because everybody wants to learn, so that, don't forget, they are career entrepreneurs, so they want to be better today than they were yesterday for their future. But if they come into your organization and they are not getting better, they won't last. All right? So you see that your staff retention is very high. They come, they go, they come, they go, and there's a problem. And sometimes you think it's a problem with the employees, but it's not. It's a problem with either you, the employer, somebody you have put in charge, or the organization itself. So look at all these parameters and then find out how attractive to the marketplace. Okay, all right, guys. So thank you very much. As I said, check my website out and then go to contact us, send me a message, and I'll be more than willing to help you out. Thank you very much. My name is Ekow Mensah.